everyone, and a very warm welcome to the 14th episode of Illuminate Leadership Talk series, where No Paper Forms brings to you the industry leaders from the topmost institutions of the country to gain from them a lot of insights and best practices of marketing, enrollment management, technology adoption, and their secrets of how are they always ahead the curve. In this session, we are going to largely talk about how top B schools have reimagined their marketing strategy and its execution with the use of technology. And we have with us Professor Chanchal Kushwaha, who has been associated with Birla Institute of Management Technology, popularly since more than 15 years, currently chairing admissions and have played an instrumental role in the growth of the institution. Professor Chanchal has his core expertise in strategic planning, market research, and digital marketing. Welcome, Professor Chanchal.
Thank you, Suraj. Good afternoon to all of you.
Also with us, we have a young dynamic marketing leader and also a writer, Shivansh Mishra from Institute of Rural Management, Anand, popularly known as IRMA in the state of Gujarat. Shivansh heads the brand communication for IRMA and has been very instrumental in developing a robust social media and web presence for IRMA over the years. Welcome, Shivansh.
Thank you so much, Suraj. Thank you for having me. It's an honor. And good evening to everyone.
It's a pleasure to have both of you with us today. And on the screen, this is myself, Suraj Sapra, Chief Strategy Officer for No Paper Forms. No Paper Forms, as the country knows, is India's leading enrollment process automation company, offering blended services of a CRM, marketing automation, application automation, post-application automation, AI-driven chatbot, and deep analytical tools to educational institutions in India and abroad. For the audiences, thank you so much for taking our time to join us today. This is going to be an interactive session, so do ask questions using the Q&A section below your screen and point it to the panelists. I will take it up with them during or after the session. So I'm very excited to start, and we'll begin by asking my first question to Professor Chanchal. Sir, you have been, you've spent around 15 years at BIMTech and has seen it moving from strength to strength very closely. And it is today an aspirational B school for thousands of students. And I know higher the number of inquiries and applications, higher are the challenges to manage them. So we would like to learn from you that how has the admission process changed over the past years at BIMTech? What were the challenges you faced and wanted to overcome, and how did you actually overcome those challenges?
Okay, so thank you, Suraj. So to my understanding, as I have seen admission process shifting from pen and paper application form to OMR sheet or OCR sheet, and then probably only the application form, and then integrating the payment gateway application form fee with that. Now we are at a stage where we can actually understand and know where our spend is going. Like each and every budget which we are incurring for promotion or engagement, we can easily check or keep eye on like how things are moving and what is the response we are getting. So we can measure our campaign very well. So the platform which we are using is no doubt that it is No Paper Forms, but the very objective of using any LMS or enrollment platform is like with the changing times, you want to know how your customer is engaging with you, what is the perception, and how your competitor is moving ahead, and how your vendors, or you can say the associates, the third-party vendors or the education portals or the campaign which you are running on social media. So we can very well easily, you can say, measure the impact of that campaign. And the most important thing is, it is not just reaching out to the number of aspirants or the MBA aspirants. It is how you are going to engage with them, give them the complete experience of the journey as applicant to the candidate who is going to finally take the admission. So because the cycle is going to be at least for 6 to 7 months. If you start in September and then finally you are culminating the batch in June or July. So it is not just you have promoted your institution, you have reached out to them, but nurturing with them or communicating with them, engaging with them, and then understanding like the tools and techniques, or you can say the associates who are working with you to reach out to these aspirants. You are able to measure that. So that is the most important thing which I feel that any LMS or enrollment system should do. So that is my understanding. And what I say is from lead management to lead nurturing, there are platforms available, and we have been using No Paper Form since last 4-5 years, and we have seen that the new, you can say, the modules which they have included, which is not just the application form. We can have a query management system, we can have a lead management system or campaign manager, where we understand that the campaign which we are doing with X educational portal, how they are actually performing, so that we can evaluate, and year on year basis, you can actually compare the numbers. And it is not just the performance of the individual portal, you can also compare the statistics which is on different parameters, like how you are getting response from the candidate gender wise or region wise, or you can actually keep check on the quality which you are going to engage with. So that is the biggest challenge which any B school like us is facing. Is it is not just the quantity, it is the quality which finally we are going to churn out as applicant and then as the student in the institute. So that is my submission.
Yeah. Professor Chanchal, you mentioned about shifting from an OCR or an OMR sort of paper forms to paperless forms or no paper forms, if I may say so. And you also mentioned about covering the entire journey of a student from the inquiry to enrollment. However, the process of admissions at the top institutions and universities of the country would also include carrying out GDPIs and then shortlisting and merit lists. And mostly all of this used to happen offline in the top B schools, right? Has that also changed at your end? And if that has, what were the challenges that you were facing which led to that change?
So before using any LMS system or just the application form system, after we started using No Paper Form, the earlier challenges were, one was like consolidating data and then drawing some decisions out of it, like analyzing data. So that was one of the biggest challenge. Then with systems in place, definitely the transparency is going to be much, much higher. Like it is between the different stakeholders, the transparency, it could be, you can say the admission office, and then integrating different departments of the institute, like coordinating with the, you can say program offices or the administration or library or hostel. So everything is going to be integrated, right?
Yeah.
And the biggest advantage is with these systems, like the earlier challenges were because we used to maintain the data sheets, right? And keeping different versions of the data sheet, and then depending upon a particular person to come out with some analysis by analyzing those data sheet. Now everybody can use that data sheet. It is going to be a centralized data. So that is the biggest advantage. And anytime, anywhere you can access to the, you can have access to that data. And since we are using NPF, so the experience has been like when we are using any data which is related to the student or the campaign which we are running, and we can easily analyze that data and come up with certain decisions like where to invest, how to invest, what marketing strategy we have to plan. Because earlier these things were not there in the, because we were doing a lot of online, offline marketing, though social media space was there, but we were not able to actually decide upon what is actually working for us, right? So what response we are getting from a particular region or through a particular campaign. So, and then if you see the complete admission cycle, it is not just getting the student into the funnel as applicant. There are different activities at different stages, which goes for at least 6 months. Then shortlisting of the candidates. So that was also a challenge. So if a system is there, you are able to do that process very smoothly. Once the candidates are shortlisted, then scheduling them for interview. Since we conduct our interview at 15 locations across Pan-India, then asking our panelists, those faculty members, those who interview candidate, and the industry expert, those who are engaged in the interview selection process, then getting their result collated manually if they are doing it, because the system has got certain functionalities where you can punch in marks, the scores right there, and the results are calculated automatically. So by just a punch or one, you can say report, you can find out how many students have actually turned up, what is the response rate at particular center, and then you can appraise your superiors about the final turnout. So it has helped us from application to shortlisting, to, you can say, the merit preparation, and even now during the pandemic time, COVID time, we have been able to conduct online interviews. And then since there was constraint that we were not able to get the fee because the functionality of online payment gateway was not there. It was just there for the application form fee, since we were asking candidate to make payment through demand draft. Now this functionality is also going to be there. So it is an end-to-end solution for managing the complete journey of candidate as applicant to as student. And the biggest advantage for admission office is going to be that you are able to access the data, you are able to analyze the data, you are able to take decisions on that data anytime, anywhere. And I think it is giving great ROIs.
Yeah, a very important thing, Professor Chansal, which mentioned, and I'll just try to paraphrase it, is that, and this is what we also saw as an organization, and around this thought only we evolved the company and evolved and augmented the product, is that there was a lot of disintegration amongst the different functions who are doing the same job. When I say same job, essentially I want to say that, okay, all of them are involved in doing admissions, and that is their ultimate objective. However, because of this disintegration, there were communication issues, there were communication gaps, and there were different silos, which led to a lot of inefficiency. However, the automation of the entire end-to-end funnel, which is tightly coupled, doesn't really assist educational institutions, but you also mentioned, to work as one, right? However, it also helps you get a unified view on runtime basis to take informed decisions and improve whatever areas that you would want to improve. A great start. Now I'll move to Shivansh and ask you a question that, Shivansh, you hold the responsibility to brand and position IRMA, and IRMA being a top B school, which has a stringent process of selection, not every student is a prospect for you. So while you plan your marketing spends, how do you make sure to reach out to the right student only who will be eligible and not just float information to masses? Or is there a different way that you promote yourself?
Thank you, Suraj. It's very interesting. We at IRMA believe in some basic core tenets, one of them being honesty. Now, I think on the institute's part, you need to be very honest about the kind of institute that you are. And I think that actually makes up for the kind of projection that you're going to put out. Ultimately, people do believe in the kind of words that you're putting out, the work that you're doing. Actually, at least in my experience, and let me tell you a very interesting fact, I am a product of IRMA. I was a student here from 2013 to 2015. And so I pursued the flagship program, the PGDM, with the PGDMRM. So ultimately for me, it's more like what the institute is trying to do, how it is trying to portray that actually translates to the kind of aspirants that the institute wishes to go for. The aspirants are able to identify themselves with what the institute is actually trying to offer. And I don't think there's any hard and fast rule to reaching out to these particular candidates. At the end of the day, it is not just the legacy of the institute, but also what it stands for in the current scenario, the kind of work that it is doing, that plays a huge role. And of course, the age-old portion of placements, the numbers around the placements play a huge role. But for an institute like IRMA, they are not the end-all and be-all. So ultimately, what you need to be with the aspirants, as much as you need to be that for yourself and with yourself and all other stakeholders, is to be very honest about where you stand and where you want to be.
Okay, so you talked about honesty, and that's a great thing. We are all educational institutions, educational companies, and there are certain core values that we need to stick to. And we are dealing with making career of other students. However, that brings me to a different question, right? So look at any ads today, and any ad of an educational institution, and you'd find that it majorly talks about 100% placements, international placements, XYZ best salary. So when everyone is talking about the same, then how to build a distinctive marketing strategy and execute it while being very honest and fair about the know-hows of an institution?
See, for every top B school, the kind of recruiters, the kind of profiles that are being offered, they are broadly speaking, they're the same. But when you look at each and every institution, I think the kind of profiles that are being offered have some distinctive flavor. Even for IRMA, an organization, let's say an organization A that comes to IRMA that goes to any other B school, that would the kind of work that they're offering, and that is ultimately the kind of thing that you build upon when you're pitching it to the prospective candidates or the aspirants. How the curriculum actually leads to the kind of placements, how what you're teaching at your particular institution, how it is all leading to the person becoming the kind of professional that he or she aspires to be. That is something that you need to focus on. And I sincerely believe the marketing has to reflect that and that itself.
Okay. All right. So Professor Chanchal, an extension to what Shivansh mentioned, what is the kind of marketing mix BIMTech has been experimenting with over the period of times, and what do you think has really worked for you? One of the core problems that we found out while building the organization was that most of the marketing spends which were happening across the educational institutions were majorly assumption driven, and there was no data driven approach to it. Were you able to achieve this in terms of executing all your marketing campaigns through your marketing mix? And how did you really do that?
Okay, so Suraj, see, BIMTech offers there are 4 PGDM courses, and we have been using a lot of online, offline marketing activities, where over the years, in last 2-3 years, we have shifted our most of the budget from, you can say the budget which we used to allocate for print media is now shifting towards online space, right? And whatever vehicle we are using for promoting institute or brand building, or reaching out to the aspirants, or maybe reaching out to the different stakeholders, keeping in mind different stakeholders, with you can say the LMS system in place, we are able to definitely measure out the budget which we are allocating for a specific campaign, and we are reviewing those campaigns on a regular interval. So there we can take the corrective action whether that particular campaign is working for us, or what new innovation we can do for improvising upon that campaign. So definitely like the social media campaign which we are doing, or the engagement which we are doing, or with the educational portals. So there are certain, you can say, yardstick or targets which we have defined, that year-on-year basis through a particular campaign, how much of student we are going to engage with, the number of leads which we are going to generate, or the quality of leads which we are going to. So it is not just reaching out to the quantity, because till the time the CAT exam is there or the CAT results are out, everybody most of the aspirants, they want to reach out to the top IIMs or top B schools. So the quantity is not the number, but converting that quantity or down the funnel, the quality which you are looking for, which fits into your requirement. And definitely students these days are well informed about, they can easily cross check with what is the ROI they are going to have. So even if the candidate is meeting the required eligibility criteria, they have got 5 to 6 options with them. And then it is not you can say the most important is the ROI, but besides that, there are other factors also. So candidate is not just looking for the placement, but if you can project that, what actually they are going to earn out as MBA degree for the future, right? So it is not just, maybe for the initial start, they might be starting with a good package, but ultimately the type of courses you are offering, the type of experience which you are offering while they are there on campus with you, the type of exposure you are giving them. So those all things, you are using different marketing tools to reach out to them, and then you can very well gauge the performance of those marketing campaigns. So that is my submission on what you have asked.
So Shivansh, if you can, throw some light on the same, and share your inputs. Along with that, I would like to also understand from you, beyond the marketing mix, wherein I would like to understand from you what are the different marketing channels you've been using, and how much of that is dependent on third parties, publishers, agencies, which all of them you use. An extension to that question for both of you would also be because Chanchal sir just mentioned about some yardsticks, right? So do you spend there with a certain objective you want to drive, and if so, then what are the KPIs that you use to monitor the outcome? What are those yardsticks that you have in place? So the questions are three. One, marketing mix. What are the different platforms that you're using? Two, how much of that is dependent on the third parties wherein you are not executing and they are executing on your behalf? Third, what are the yardsticks? What are the KPIs that you use to measure the outcome or take a decision whether you want to continue, discontinue, reinvest, deviate? So yeah, we would like to get some inputs from you.
So you mentioned about assumption-based marketing or an assumption-driven approach. I think the days for that are long gone. That process, the whole process, the admissions process has to be driven through solid data. We've been practicing this at IRMA for a very long time now by analyzing hard data, or not just with respect to the kind of students we're ultimately getting, or the kind of students who make up for our batches in our flagship program, the PGDM-RM, but also the kind of people who are our aspirants, these people who are actually want to be at IRMA. Now, diversity, as Chanchal sir also touched upon, diversity in the form of states, languages, academic backgrounds, professional backgrounds, age, and of course, gender. They play a huge role in determining how we want to approach each academic session. So essentially, every year, it is a lesson for the next one. It is a lesson for the next one as it informs us in determining what works and what does not. Ultimately, see, for the last 2 years, we've been working with no paper forms, and that has informed our choices with respect to third-party publishers, a lot of it, because earlier as we may not have been able to as effectively tie down as to what is working and what is not working. Now we can. So if a piece of content, if a piece of marketing is not doing the kind of job that we want it to do, we can always change that. We can keep rotating our publisher platforms, not only just because we want to experiment, but also we are keeping a close tab, and now we're able to keep a close tab on what is working. Now, for the last 3-4 years particularly, this approach has helped us tremendously in reaching out to people on a personal, that is on a one-to-one basis, but also through the usage of digital media. Coming to the kind of the question that you asked with respect to social media, that whether content works, how important content is. I think content is king, as the usual adage goes. You may put up a flashy banner, but it is not going to help you in the long run. Ultimately, they may catch your eye, they may catch the aspirant's eye every now and then, but they cannot substitute good content. And now, good content ultimately has to be driven by what basically the institute wants to communicate, what it stands for, where it wants to be, what it does. These are the questions that a property like a banner, for example, it cannot possibly say or communicate. At its best, any such property may lead someone to your website or where you want them to land. At its worst, it is just another blip in the whole of, or let's say, the glut of advertising material that inundates a third-party publisher. So the focus should always be on understanding what you wish to communicate, what the institute wishes to communicate. And I think priorities change with respect to the content every session. Some things remain the same, some things change. And you need to be cognizant of what works and what does not. And I think in my personal experience for the last 2 years, NPF has been extremely important and vital for us to understand that.
Fantastic. I'll come back to the context of content and how it has to be used. But an important question before that, because I was trying to understand from you that what are the yardsticks that you've had, had so far using whatever technology, maybe no paper forms, to measure the outcome of the performance of different campaigns. In the previous session that we had with 2 other different top B schools in the country, IMI and D school, Dr. Himadri Das also at that point of mentioned that they have been able to set some KPIs. For example, whenever they spend some money, so they would try to understand that what are the indicator or lead qualities in terms of verification percentage they're getting across channels, right? What is the duplicity? They've also been able to correct the data sanity for themselves. So there are no more missing values in the leads which they are getting. So a lead which is just a phone number and email ID without a state, without a course interest, they don't really consider that as a lead. And looking into all of these, they've been able to significantly optimize their campaigns and identify that, okay, what is a lead workable, what is a lead which is not workable with you. Have you been also able to utilize it to the core capacity? Because this is one of the challenges which a lot of institutions would tell us and share with us. One of their fears is that if they adopt a technology, whether or not they'll be able to use to the hilt. How has that been at both of the institutions? I would want Chanchal sir to answer this first, and then Shivansh may add further to it.
Okay, so Suraj, before answering this question, what Shivansh has said, regarding the content marketing, or you can say the marketing mix. So it is not just whatever admission office, whatever marketing vehicle they are using for reaching out to the students. So keeping the core as the admission process or getting the right candidate for a particular program. But what I understand is, and whatever content or whatever branding we are doing, we are keeping in mind all the stakeholders, be it alumni, be it corporates, be it your educational peers, or be it even the parents, okay, or your international institutions, or the ranking agencies, or it might be anybody. So besides, so the core of the marketing activity or the communication is going to be reaching out, engaging with, or telling your aspirants how you are different from other institutes, or what actually you are doing. Mm-hmm. Right. So the research work or the teaching or the course or the differentiating factor which your institute has, or your particular program USP, so that need to be reached out to, because every institute, most of the, you can say 75% of the things are same. And the universe of MBA aspirant is also going to be the same. So end of the year, you are going to have 4 lakh, 4.5 lakh MBA aspirants, other than say 2.5 those who appear in the CAT. And there are other MBA exams. So your communication should be, how you are going to actually create the pull effect out of it. And instead of just pushing the content, or you can say concentrating on conversion, the lead conversion, I think you need to nurture the lead. So that your content should be. So ultimately, you are going to convert the candidate with the experience you are giving, the transparency you are maintaining with them, because they can very well easily cross-check whatever you are saying with social media, or there are other platforms where they can cross-check with the authenticity of what you are actually communicating with them. Right. So keeping the core as the MBA aspirants, your engagement or your promotion about your keeping in mind all the stakeholders should be there. Now coming to the question which you are saying, that how to measure the campaign performance, KPIs.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So so that was the biggest challenge which we or any B school would have been facing if they are not using any of the lead management system or some CRM system. So on year basis, we do review the performance of the third party publishers, and because they all are targeting the same candidate which the X publisher is targeting, the Y would also be targeting, and you as institute also try to reach out to the same aspirant. So whosoever gets that candidate first will be registered into their account. Now, with LMS in place, you are able to actually see that whose campaign and what type of communication which they are promoting or to reaching out to these candidates is actually working for you. So that is the biggest, you can say, advantage with any lead management system, or with NPF. The experience is that we are able to find out or pinpoint that from where the candidate is actually channelized, and then to what stage you can easily make out, like if the candidate is coming as primary lead from particular publisher and they are converted as, or they are meeting the quality requirement. So you can also check out the lead which is provided by a particular publisher or through a particular campaign is of what quality. So that is going to be the KPI for for measuring the performance of any publisher or any campaign which you are doing, which otherwise wouldn't have been possible if you are not using technology, right? So,
Yeah.
so any lead management system you are using, or with NPF, there are functionalities, there are techniques, or you can say modules through which you can easily make out, and you can make your publisher aware about how actually they are performing, how much they need to further make efforts for getting or for meeting the targets, or for giving the ROI to the institute or B school. So, so, so finding out, because for any B school or for any good reputed university or institute, getting the number is, because the number is fixed and the number is shared. It is usually shared, you can say 1/10. The same candidate is being gone as lead to X institute and then the Y institute. So how well you are able to converse with them, how well that lead has come meeting your eligibility criteria. And the point is, these days the communication need to be very customized. You need to create the persona of the applicants or the leads and then converse with them. So somebody who is coming up with an experience of 2 or 3 years working with Infosys engineering background might not be looking for just a communication which you are doing with somebody who is coming out as fresher. So those all things and functionalities are there in any lead management system. And we have experienced that by doing so, you are able to give them better experience. You are able to engage with them, nurture with them, and the type of communication which they are looking for, with the type of information which they are looking for, that is possible with these systems. Not otherwise. Manually, we were not able to do that. So that is, so KPIs are going to be, it is not just the number, how better the quality is coming. So that is going to be the yardstick for measuring the performance.
Yeah, I think you have fairly covered everything. Talked about measuring the duplicity because you mentioned about primary leads, and the same lead coming that you already acquired from a source is coming from different source. Also, we as an organization also found out there that there was an overlapping of 30 to 35% of inquiries getting generated. So in a way, it could be seen as a 35% of extra spend or a waste spend of marketing, because you are repetitively paying for the same sort of a branding effort, same sort of an inquiry over and over again, if there is a lot of duplication. And that was indeed a big breakthrough, though we have come today to learn from you. So I'm not talking about no paper forms. However, Shivansh, Gentle sir talked about any lead management system might not be able to deliver a functionality of an enrollment process automation system that No Paper Forms has, and it has an integrated approach, and that's how they've been able to also able to set KPIs, because they are able to visualize the end-to-end funnel from inquiry to enrollment and duplicacy and all of that, right? Quality parameters, he mentioned that whether or not that quality of lead is getting delivered as per the expectations of your institution. That's a very, very important aspect. Have you also been able to capitalize on this integrated approach? What's your view in this?
Absolutely.
And how easy was that for your institution, all stakeholders to adopt?
See, it's never easy at the outset. I'll be very frank with you. It takes some getting used to, but ultimately, when you try and understand the kind of needs that the system is fulfilling for you, when you get around that, fact, I think it becomes very easy. Also, you're better able to, as Chanchal sir already mentioned, and he's answered this beautifully. Ultimately, from any LMS, you're trying to extract the most when it comes to dealing with the kind of people that are coming in, the kind of applications that are coming in, the quality of those leads. And as he also said that you need to, now this is the time when you nurture a lead. This is not the time when you tap into a lead, you basically nurture it. This is the age of customization, and each and every candidate, who wouldn't actually want a person from an institute, a big institute, to just give them a call, try and understand where they are facing an issue with respect to the application process. Now, let's say we have a 7-stage application process, and if a candidate is stuck on stage 5, if he or she gets a call from the institute asking them that what kind of issues or what kind of problems they're facing, that makes a huge impact on the morale of the candidate and also allows them to make a decision when it comes to their application to a particular institution. Now, this functionality can only come with a system like NPF or any LMS like that. But how it delivers, how the said LMS delivers it to the institution, it ultimately is the kind of relationship that you have. See, a lot of customization is not really possible because ultimately the LMS itself is a product. That product is being offered to your institution, and it would be highly unfair on anybody to see it as a highly customizable object or a product. But ultimately, what you make of it is what's most important.
Yeah, great. So we talked about the importance of content, and a flashy banner might not really serve the purpose which an institution may achieve through a very well organized and honest content. We talked about importance of communication and social media in between. So that brings me to a question of how do you ensure that you are able to communicate the message to the applicants or inquiries, right? Because the change that as an organization we tried to bring, and we were able to fairly do that, was that initially there was a lack of personalization. You talked about personalization just now, that if a counselor or if a person can speak to the student based upon what stage of the application he or she is and moderate the content accordingly, it'll be a better connect. You would not even sound as desperate. No top B school want to sound desperate for admissions, right? It'll be more of a helping, more of an offering assistance to a student, right? So that as an organization, we were also focused on that, and we found out that students were being bombarded with SMSs and emails, and now WhatsApp, right? How right way is that? One is obviously it involves huge amount of cost, right? What damage it could do to a brand, be it a top institution, be it a tier 2 institution. What's the views on that? And what's the right way also to execute it?
See, I think what they say sometimes that there's no such thing as too much marketing or too much exposure. I respectfully disagree with that. Okay. Because an institute should not overexpose itself by having its proverbial marketing fingers in too many pies. You need to be able to scale back whenever required. You need to be able to be there for a particular candidate or a pool of candidates. You need to be able to solve their problems or solve their issues. So ultimately, you have to be approachable, but you also need to strike a balance when it comes to, because ultimately it all leads to the brand that the institution represents and the brand that a particular aspirant or a pool of aspirants would like to get associated with. If you basically risk the dilution of that particular image that aspirants carry for that particular institution. So I think the balance comes when you decide on an institutional level what is the extent to which you want to be available. Now, ultimately, with the help of the systems in place right now, we're able to actually zero down on the kind of issues the students are facing. And this is a continuous feedback, and this forms a part of your feedback loop. What happened in the last session, the kind of issues that students generally face, they actually get reflected in the kind of issues that you'd like to deal with in the current academic session or the admission session. So I think keeping a close tab on that answers a lot of questions to you. Again, when these aspirants come in as students, they give you a lot of insights as to the kind of pluses or minuses that they faced as aspirants. So you on the institutional level, again, you need to have a closer tab on what works and what does not.
I'll take a question between, though I wanted to ask a question around this to Professor Senchal also, but here we have Dr. Geeta M, and she asks that, how do you reach out to the candidates who are undecided right now due to COVID? Any specific marketing strategy that you suggest for colleges that are in small cities? If anybody of you may want to take that. Okay, Senchal sir.
Okay, so that was a very well expected question from anyone in these present times. So as she says, if somebody is undecided, then how do you reach out to them? So that is the question. I think the question is deleted from the chat.
Yeah. So no, I just moved it to the answered bucket. It says that how do you reach out to candidates who are undecided right now due to COVID? any specific marketing strategy that you suggest for the colleges that are in small
Okay,
cities?
so COVID is you can say it's a global unprecedented situation which we all are going through. But the show must go on, as it says. So any B school or any institute or any university who is able to cope up with these situations. So what are the changes which you are going to brought in into your teaching and learning system, into your reaching out to the MBA aspirants? You need to showcase them. Like if you are not able to tell the outside world that you have, if you indicate that you have stopped or everything has stopped because the COVID is there, right? So you are not able to communicate with the candidates, you are not able to communicate with the existing students, or what are the changes which others are bringing in, and you are not able to move ahead with that time, right? So even if in these last 3-4 months the classes are going on in school, so the outside world should know that these are the things which are going to be there. So you never know like how things would be in the next 6 months, right? So the lockdown one happened, we were thinking that now the market is going to be open and the things would be normal. But then lockdown 2, lockdown 3, and then even in unlock, there are certain things which are still not open. So to keep pace with the changing time and the requirement, you need to innovate and transform your daily working, be it a class, be it marketing strategies, be it reaching out to the applicants, be it using different ways and means to communicate with the students. So those all things need to be innovated, or you need to use those technologies where you know that because the aspirant is there, they are wanting to get in touch with you. But maybe the vehicle which you are using, because earlier when you were going to the coaching institute where the engineering coaching or the CAT coaching is going to use has to take place, or even the colleges where you used to do seminar or interact with the student, now those all things are not there. So you need to think like how alternatively you can do that. What are the various channels, or how your associates have changed according to that. The coaching institutes have converted everything to online space now. So what are the various inventories or deliverables or various tools and techniques through which they are engaging with the student, and how you can use those vehicles. So that is how, and you need to showcase that also, the existing, that you have not stopped, your institute is running, you are conducting classes, the activities are going on. And what are your plans in future to fight with that? So if you are not able to do a physical interview process or the counseling process, you should showcase that you have systems or techniques in place where you can do interview or evaluation or assessment online. So that is the learning, and I think we all need to keep pace with the changing times, be it technology, be it pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Geeta, for the question, and I think you got the answer. Chanchal sir, detailed it out for you.
Anything, Shivans, you want to add? You can, please.
Chanchal sir, I think you put it very beautifully again. Ultimately, how the institutes have coped, or at least tried to cope with this pandemic, how the teaching learning process has, how it has gone in the past 6 months, in the past 5-6 months, it is going to have a huge impact on the kind of admissions admission season we're about to have. So there is always a need to pursue higher management education. There will always be the need for that, but ultimately I think now more than ever it becomes much more crucial for the people who wish to have a management degree 2 years from now or 3 years from now. It becomes all the more essential for them to understand what the institute is particularly trying to do with respect to the pandemic situation that is going on. So I think communicating how the teaching learning process has went off smoothly. Everybody has faced some kind of a hurdle, technological, social, emotional, of course, most of all. But how you as the institute have been able to surpass that, how you've been able to deal with that is very, very important for the communication.
Yeah. So there are a few more questions, and I think a couple of questions that I see are on the lines of something that I asked Shivansh, and he answered it also. And I would like to now take opinion of Professor Chanchal on this. Akanksha Mehta asks that how to ensure that students do not feel that we're pushing them. Many of our leads unsubscribe our emails and do not engage. I think this is what I also wanted to, understand, Professor Chanchal, if you may, help us. That how are you using, sending communications to students so they're not getting really bothered or consumed or confused. So what is the strategy that you have adopted, and is there a role of technology in this element as well?
Okay, so the technology is very well making you finding out that what actually aspirant want to listen from you, what type of information he or she is seeking from you. So if you are giving them a plain communication or sending mailer, right? So with the technology, what you can do, you can create different buckets of same persona of applicants or the leads. And then you can engage with them with, you can say, customized communication. So as I told you, every applicant is, or every lead which is going to come into your funnel is not going to be your candidate which you are looking for, or maybe the lead which is coming into your system is not the lead who is looking for you as coming as a student. So how you are going to communicate with them, you create the persona of bucket, and then you can communicate with them based on their queries, and you need to keep your, you can say, he or she might be there on social media space, he or she might have interacted with you on telephone with your counselor, or might have sent you email. So you need to keep listening to them and keep empathy with them. So you need to understand what is the profile of the candidate, what are the type of communication they are doing with you, and then accordingly you need to create certain communication with them. So, so time has come where you need to customize your communication, even candidate to candidate, right? So you all must have experienced that with Amazon or Flipkart. You get a different types of offers. Sometimes a person sitting next to you may not be having the same offer which you have got. So that is the level of customization technology is giving you. And that is how we have to plan our communication strategy accordingly. The content and the call to action in that content, and the content has to be as per the profile of the candidate. So when I say profile of the candidate, you can drill down to the single candidate, or you can drill down to a bucket of those candidates who are showcasing the similar persona. So they should not feel that you are pushing the content to them. So the content could be engaging if you are sharing information through videos, because videos are much more, you can say, in demand by the TG which we look for. And then it should not be just to promote the brand. It should have the intent where you can engage with the candidate. So pushing will not be there unless the candidate feels that the relevant content is reaching out to them. Otherwise, they will definitely, because I know like every candidate must have applied to 4 or 5 institutes, and then every now and then, every 2 weeks, they are getting 20 SMSs and 20 emailers. So unless the relevancy is there, and with technology, you can very well find out the number of, you can say, communication you have done with the candidate, how many times the candidate has actually opened the SMS, how many times they have tried to click on a particular link which has call to action and they have reached to your website or application. So by that, you can narrow down the funnel and come to a very targeted audience actually who is looking for you. And then they are the right match for you, that you need to judge out with their credentials. So that is my summation.
Right, so there are a lot of questions on similar lines. I'll read them out all, and then Shivansh can share their inputs. The question from Akansha Mehta has already been answered by Professor Chanchal. There is a similar question that how many times we should touch an applicant to not result it in spam and have conversions, by Samiksha Sehgal. A related question to this has also been asked by Mr. Rajesh Singh, and he says, good evening. Communication plays key role in sending out information and make the applicants perceive our brand in certain way. What should the communication mainly emphasize on, and how automated technology can take this to next level? If Professor Chanchal and Mr. Shivansh can share their experience in building effective management with the applicants. All of these questions are inclined towards understanding that One, sending a lot of SMSs, emails might make you appear or your brand appear as desperate. So how do you really skip that off? Second, how should you really build an effective engagement strategy so that the students are responding to you and they're not getting bothered. Chanchal sir has detailed out that question. Shivansh, would like to take your views, and probably I'll also summarize it eventually.
Yeah, so I think Chanchal sir has already answered about the role that technology has to play here in terms of reaching out and so on and so forth, how you're basically able to drill down the funnel and understand what works and what does not. I think what is very crucial to understand is also to basically try and understand what the kind of messages that you're trying to send. If you keep sending communication which says that admissions are open, apply now, that is actually going to deter the participants or deter the aspirants from going ahead. You need to be able to, again, it's not just about a B school is not just about the experience of the students. It is also about the aspirant experience. Ultimately, what is the USP of each and every institute? What is the kind of experience that you are basically presenting on a platter to that particular aspirant? That is of utmost importance. I think reaching out to them, touching on those nerves. So what is life at a particular B school? How important it is for these applicants to understand how differentiated it can be from one place to another. I think those are some salient points that you need to touch upon. Regarding the frequency of communication, as somebody asked, I think frequency can only be decided only after understanding how the content that you're putting out is being perceived, or what kind of feedback you're receiving. If you're receiving a lot of unsubscriptions, then you basically need to go back to the drawing board, try and understand why, what was the communication and why is it not working, how it could be perceived by the aspirants. So going back to the drawing board every now and then helps a lot.
Yeah, very, very beautifully explained by both Chanchal sir and Shivansh. And I like to just summarize it because it is important from what we are also solving as a problem. Chanchal sir mentioned about profiling of the candidate and aspirant experience, and also Shivansh mentioned about you decide the frequency basis how your email communication, content, and SMS communication is consumed. How it is being responded to. See, if it was to done manually, I would say it is nearly impossible. However, in today's time, technology, that we have evolved at No Paper Forms, gives you enough visibility to ensure that you are in an automated fashion you're able to personalize communication with each of your applicants. So applicant by applicant, the system can identify that what communication has to be sent, in what frequency, what content. Unsubscriptions would happen. Why? As Shivansh also mentioned, that's something that needs to be realized, because all your applicants or all your customers are not really resonating with the content that you are sharing with them. They are not enjoying that content, or it is irrelevant for them. So there are measures to do A/B testing, right? Wherein you can keep a track through your system on what kind of email content, what kind of subject lines, what kind of SMSs are really getting consumed well, so that you can repeat it till the time that delivering you great results. The moment you see a drop in the results, you can alter that looking into the system, and you don't really have to do that manually. The system is able to identify and analyze the entire profiling of the student, and basis the student behavior, the stage, state, location, course interest, work. Right, system is able to automate and personalize this communication for far better results. There are a lot more questions that are asked. I'll take up.
Suraj, I just want to add one more thing. What you have said and Shivansh has said.
Please, sir.
Nowadays, like everybody is using technology. Every one of us is using technology 24/7.
Yeah.
So embracing technology is the need of the hour, but having empathy with the applicant or the candidate or who is going to be the student, that is the most important thing. See, the aspirant or the candidate would not be listening to you until you are open to listen to them when they actually want to talk to you. So you need to talk to them when they actually want to talk to you. if they want to talk to you at 8:30 in the night or maybe 7 o'clock in the morning, you should be available to them. So that is the reason WhatsApp APIs are there, or the chatbots are there, the AI chatbots are there. So,
Yeah.
so you need to listen to them actually. Otherwise, it is going to be the one-way communication. It has to be a conversation. So that is how the technology should be enabled to reach out to these candidates so that they are engaged right then and there when they actually look for you. Otherwise, because they have other options, they can be deviated.
Right. So you talked about personalization, you talked about being empathetic and open to be listening to students and all these things coming from the top institutions of the country who get, 20x, 30x application volumes, and the seats that they have to actually fill is a big thing. I think that's something that we must really register in our minds. And that brings me to a very important question about student experience. Especially in the top institutions, the experience of applicants isn't given a lot of priority. You are talking the opposite of it, but this has been our experience, right? So from the point of view of content discovery, application submission experience, be it query management and handling, ensuring personalized engagement, and we used to see students being bombarded, we've already talked about it, right? What are the steps that you've taken which have really worked well for you? And the institutions who aren't doing the same, what do you think is the opportunity cost? Because especially the top institutions would say that the students who are willing to study in my institution, they are in any case are going to apply, right? Even if I don't have an application form online, if I have my doors shut, even then they are going to climb those doors and fill up the application form. Is that a right mindset? If not, then what is the opportunity cost? What are they losing out on? Quick answer on this from Professor Chanchal.
Okay,
It's very difficult to moderate academicians, right? So
yeah,
if I stop
with my experience and what I have seen, see, these days your customer is well aware of things. Like our MBA aspirants, or maybe for the engineering colleges, those students and their parents are even too, right? So thinking that, and the TG is same. The TG is same. The offerings are more or less close to, and there are certain specialized courses. So if see, it is not that what you are offering is going to be accepted by the customer. So you need to, as an institute also, you need to keep on innovating your offerings also. You need to keep on creating differentiating factors for what you are offering. So be it faculty, be it your offerings as courses, be it your student experience, or you can say the new age courses or emerging technology courses. So those all things, and your engagement with your alumni or corporates or industry experience or international exposure, everything need to be bundled or packaged in such a fashion that it gives, you can say, ROI to the candidate. It is because, see, sometimes students are not just coming for the placement. They come for the overall MBA experience. The degree is not going to be just to get the job after completion of 2 years. It is going to be there, which is, you can say, which is for the career. So career is going to span for another 25, 30 years, right? And if somebody who is coming with a lot of aspirations after 2-3 years of work experience, or maybe fresher coming from premium university or college, so they will have a lot of, you can say, expectations from you. And there are other options also available. So the competition is cutthroat. But how you are going to create the differentiating factor, the experience which you are going to offer them, that is going to matter.
Great. I'll move to my next question, and then eventually I'll take the rest of the questions. There are 3 questions that I personally want to ask you, and I'll move to the questions that the audiences have asked, a lot of them. And this question is to Shivansh. You being a social media strategist, Shivansh, if you look at just the stats of Facebook, right? It has 300 million plus users, which is what, around 24% of the total population of the country, and more than half of the internet population in the country. So from the stats point of view, it looks fantastic a place to define and target your prospects. However, the feedback we often hear from our partners about social media at large, not just Facebook, but social media at large is not very encouraging. So how do you suggest that social media should be adopted in the best possible ways? Which all platforms would it be looked at from a more content orientation, branding, or display ads, or lead gen? What works the best as far as you are concerned?
See, I think the biggest drawback of social media is its biggest identifier, that there's a lot of people on each and every social media platform. Nowadays, each and every institute is on each and every social media platform that you can envisage, that you can visualize, and then some. Ultimately, what differentiates your strategy from one platform to another is the kind of content that you believe your audience for one platform would engage with, as and how, and basically what is the difference between your TG on one platform vis-a-vis the TG on another platform. So for some institutions, LinkedIn works better than Facebook, and for others it's vice versa. Ultimately, when you're trying to reach out to aspirants, you need to understand basically what is the most engaging platform for you. If it is even Instagram, and many institutions right now are focusing on Instagram, they look at Instagram as the next best thing. It has been around for quite a while, but now people are understanding, now institutions are understanding the importance of a platform like Instagram, that it is not just for social media influencers. Institutions themselves can be influencers to be able to basically target the kind of people that they want to approach. Now let's say the broad targeting is always a bit splotchy. I understand that it's very, very difficult to drill down on the kind of people that you want, but at least when you wish to send out a communication, when you wish to communicate something, I think social media has its own merits, but ultimately you need to be able to differentiate between the kind of messaging from one platform to another.
All right. All right. Fantastic. One of the questions I'll take from Amit Bhateja, he asks that one of the major challenge with universities, colleges, that students who have taken the admission now decided to drop out due to pandemic uncertainty. What would the right strategy for a campus to follow to retain? So he's asking that there are a lot of dropouts which are happening because the institutions were not able to, or has not really been able to resume the actual physical classes, so that they don't really drop out. What is the institution should be doing? And Professor Chanchal, we would like to hear a take on this.
So I have already, like earlier also the same question was there. What as in any institute, how to cope up with these times, they should actually showcase, or whatever you have been doing pre-corona or before, or you can say the normal times, you should continue doing that, but everything has shifted from offline to online. So the classes are going to be online, the assessments are going to be online, even the complete admission cycle, because we started last year in the month of September, we did almost 60% of the process by March, and then the lockdown happened. But the 40% of the process and the final engagement, because retaining those who are already there in your system as a student, those who paid fees by March, and then when you have to start in August, like we started on 31st of July. So keeping them engaged with you, keeping them informed about that we are there, and maintaining their, you can say, confidence and trust, because the parents are going to pay the fee, and that confidence need to be there that ultimately the course is going to start, be it online or offline, the experience is going to be same. So you need to comply with the current situation. How and you need to tell that as per the government regulation, the things are going to be there in the blended mode or the online offline mode. The assessments are going to happen because otherwise, see, there have been you can say the questions raised by the students or even the parents that why you are charging so much of fees when you are not going to give them the experience being on campus, right? So if you are able to give that experience even offline, even online, the class teaching and learning is going to happen. The ultimate aim is to give them that experience of what they used to experience in the face-to-face class. All the assessments are going to happen, all the projects are going to be presented, and then you are ready to welcome them once the situation gets normal. So those all things, what is institutional preparation, how you have invested in technology, how you have changed your classroom, how you have you can say, change your hostel facilities to meet up this pandemic, or you can say the post-corona challenges. So I think if you are doing that, and if you are keeping your existing students, or maybe uh, mm, the aspirants who are going to join you, because see, till last year, students, those who have taken admission this year, they were halfway already. They already decided to do MBA, right? And there was a phase of uncertainty that maybe after 1 month everything is going to be normal, which is going to be normal maybe by October or November or December, you never know. But the bigger challenge is going to be there when you are going to target to the admissions of 2021. So there is going to be a well-informed decision. The experience is going to be shown there, who are there with you and what you have done. If you are able to maintain that, otherwise you will be losing, right? Because the audience, the TG which is going to be there in 2021, they can see actually what you are doing during the pandemic time. If you are not able to do that, you will be failing.
Yeah. All right. So last question from my end, and the questions to the both of you, that whenever for your institution, you have to subscribe to some service, some technology, and you have to do that through a couple of meetings only, right? You take a couple of presentations, and I feel that that is not enough to really understand the depth of a product. It might really look good from a presentation, but essentially it might not really be a good product, right? So what advice would you have to give to, a lot of other people who are in the audience, a lot of directors and owners and marketing and mission heads of the different organizations, that what are the must to evaluate parameters, if you can just list it down, to shortlist a technology, a vendor, for their institution, say for the management of missions?
I think,
or any other software.
I think broadly speaking, the biggest onus lies with the institute itself. You need to have a clear set of objectives in your mind. Why do you wish to go for a service provider? Right? Ultimately, what is the kind of goal that you're working towards? If it is automation, fine. If it is moving away from the pen and pencil and paper format, going for a no paper forms approach, that is fine. But you need to be able to be very clear in your head as to why you wish to adopt a service provider like that. Yeah. Also, as I mentioned before, a check on your expectations is a must. So I think it's imperative that to understand that the service provider cannot and will not do everything for you. Customization on your part will only form a fraction of the product, and ultimately you're taking the product, the service itself. It's just a beautiful icing on a delicious cake. Ultimately, you have to look at the cake and not just the icing itself. So it is an enabler. Please understand that the technology is an enabler. It is only going to enable, it is only going to further the kind of goals that you wish to achieve and your efforts towards it. So any service provider for that matter is going to do the same to you. Ultimately, the thrust, the drive has to come from the institution within.
So Chancel sir, your views on it? How do you shortlist an vendor for your institution?
How do you
shortlist a vendor, a technology for your institution?
Okay, so see, my views are same as what Shivans has already said. See, technology as enabler, the best of the technology could be used by any of the top institutions, right? So unless you are able to use the functionalities given in that technology, if you are not reviewing how your campaigns are working, and if you have not, like if you don't have that expertise, or if you don't have people to evaluate what actually you are doing and how it should be done, and if there is some corrective action required, how to measure. So you need to create your own yardstick. And with technology, only thing possible is you can compare the performance on year-to-year basis. You can compare performance campaign-wise. You can compare performance publisher-wise. You can compare your own performance in terms of the quantity and the quality of the application which is churning out into your funnel. So the biggest advantage which any vendor should give is, like, what are the various functionality, what is the ease at which you can use those technological, you can say, the offerings, and then is it having a system? Is it having a system where you can review or measure the performance of the, you can say, the budget, the campaign for which you have invested in? right? Or the third party or the publishers which you are engaging with for providing the leads or getting them converted as a student. So the best of technology could be used by anyone. If you are not measuring or you are not using it for evaluating the performance, then I think it is not going to be. And then there should be a system which should provide you end-to-end solution, because the time has come that it should not be just the enrollment form. It should not be just the system for shortlisting the candidate, or maybe for conducting the interview process or preparation of merit. It should be an end-to-end solution where you are able to get the student, and until unless they are there in the batch, it should have the complete integrated solution. So I think we have been using NPF, and I think it is providing us all those modules, and the experience have been good so far.
Great. I think, very beautifully explained by the both of you. I understand that Shivansh has to leave, so I'll quickly just summarize the answer for all the audiences. Whatever Chanchal sir and Shivansh just mentioned. Shivansh started by saying that it is very important, and I personally also feel that every institution must really have a very clear set of objectives that they want to achieve through the technology in which they are investing, right? Without that objective, clarity of thought, I think every product is going to deliver the same value, and they might end up making a huge mistake. Second, very important thing is that the onus lies with the institution, that they must start to be proactive in adoption of the technology, right? Though at no paper forms, we understand that how education industry in the country works. So we live with a core philosophy of solve for the customer. We have a dedicated customer success team enabling institutions to use the product to its core capacity, and they would operate from their campus at times to ensure that the results are being made. But yeah, eventually it has to come into a self-serve autopilot mode, and the institutions need to understand that. User friendliness of the system is something that is going to facilitate this self-serve mode. That is very, very important. Another thing that was mentioned is the core expertise of that particular platform. That could be derived by looking at which other institutions that particular product is already serving, similar institutions that particular product is serving, and for how long it has been serving, whether or not that particular product or company has been able to retain their clients year over year. लगा दिया, अगले साल हट गए, दूसरी जगह लगा दिया, फिर हट गए. So that means there is some challenge, right? So there's some challenge with the adoption of the product. The core is not right. So that's a very, very important thing to really identify. With this, I think, Shivansh, you need to move for another meeting. We thank you for your time. I wish you could have spent another 10-15 minutes. Would you be able to?
I'm sorry, I really can't, but it's been a great opportunity for me, and it was fantastic interacting with you. And Chanchal sir, it's a real honor to have got this opportunity to speak with you, to speak alongside you, and to listen to your views. Thank you so much, Suraj. Thank you to team and NPF for organizing this.
Yeah, we'll continue for another 5 minutes with Chanchal sir. There are a couple of questions.
Thank you, Shivansh.
Okay. Which have to be answered. Thank you, Shivansh, for your presence. The audience, I'm sure, must have thoroughly enjoyed the discussion and a lot of insights that you shared. We're obliged. Thanks.
Thanks so much.
And we will continue with Chanchal sir.
Okay. Thank you.
So Chanchal sir, there are some open questions. I'll take it up with you, and then we'll wrap the session. One of the question which has been asked is, it is by Dr. Lakshman Gaikwad. He says that, good evening, we are a small college in Nagpur and accept CAT and MHCET score for admissions. We have an interview process before finalizing the admissions. My question is for Chanchal sir as to how to manage this process, as we do not have much resources to conduct process in different states. So I believe that Dr. Lakshman Gaikwad is trying to improve on their diversification of their batches, and they want to reach out to different states. However, they don't really have much resources to conduct the process. So what is the suggestion you would like to give to them?
So I think the question is like, how do they conduct, are there, what is the process they should take up for conducting the interview process, or the students are already there or reach?
So I believe they mean to say that they must be doing it offline, and they don't really have much resources, but they want to conduct the processes in different states.
Okay.
So how should they really go about it?
So if you have already shortlisted these candidates and these students are already there with you, the candidates are already there with you, you can conduct these interviews over Skype, or maybe you can use open platforms like Zoom. So where you can align these students, give them the schedule their interview timings. You can give them different slots, because we also did one round of interview while the lockdown was there. That was in the month of April. So while working from home, we planned, these students were scheduled like the 10 panels were there. Each panel was having one faculty, or you can have two faculty over Zoom also. And then you can schedule the different slots with different candidates appearing for interview to these panelists. So it can be very well done. Instead of doing the GD process, I think GD can also be conducted over Zoom. Otherwise, you can have extempore, or you can ask them to speak on certain current affair topic, and interviews can be done as good as if you are doing in a face-to-face manner.
Yeah. And I'll take this as an opportunity to make a sales pitch to Dr. Lakshman Gaikwad.
Okay. So now this feature is there in with no paper form also.
So Dr. Lakshman, you may write at sales@nopaperforms.com. We have automated this process of capturing, online, doing online slot booking and capturing online scores and evaluation and merit list. Trust me, it would not require you to travel anywhere into different states. You do that right from the comfort of your institution, and it's a very robust process. Most of the largest and the top B schools in the country, in view of the pandemic, used that service, and they were able to successfully do the shortlisting and merit list. So that's something that you may, use as a service from No Paper Forms if you wish to. There's another question by Nisha Mathur, and she asks that how much budget do you allocate for online marketing and how you decide the same?
Okay, so I can tell you the decision making part, like how actually one should decide upon how much to allocate for a particular online campaign. So if I understand, online campaign is going to be there for SEO activities, SMM activities, or the online publishers who could be helping out in getting the leads. So depending upon the type of leads which you want, and the total number of admissions which you want, the number of leads which could be generated through these resources, you need to plan your budget. So usually I can say if you're, and in the present times also, you need to shift from print media budget to, or offline budget to online budget. So you can reduce upon the print and then invest more on that could be 80-20. So 80 online and 20 in the print if it is very much required. Otherwise, for the online and for social media and engagement with the educational platform, it depends upon how many publishers you are going to engage with. So usually if there are 10 top publishers with whom you want to engage with, and the type of activities which you are going to, or the inventories which you are going to ask them to work for you, so that will totally depend upon that. So as such, I cannot say that you have to invest say 30 lakh rupees or 40 lakh rupees. So that depends upon the type of institution, the type of, and it is not just the quantity. It has to be correlated with the quality, the type of engagement you are going to do with the publishers. So you need to create some yardstick that if they are working for you, they are going to deliver quality for you. So in totality, what I can say is your online budget should be 80%, 20% should be, if it is very much required, 20% print media. And within the 80%, you can have 30 to 35% on social media. Rest, you can engage with some good publishers. And if you are just engaging with good publisher, will not work until unless you have a system where you can measure the performance of these education portals. So you should have, the first thing in place is some LMS or enrollment system which has got campaign management facility, query management facility. You can review the performance of these educational portals or the publishers, how actually they are working for you, how many leads they have given, what is the quality of the lead, and how on year basis you can also see that how many leads have finally converted into the shortlisting or appearance in the interview process, or finally converting to merit and then finally joining the batch. So until unless that is there in place, no activity you will not be able to gauge the performance of any activity until unless you have a system in place.
Yeah. So Nisha, in addition to what Professor Chanchal just explained, I would like to add that see, budget allocation and budget consumption are two different things. With the right set of technology in place, an enrollment automation system in place, as Chanchal sir was mentioning, you can allocate the budgets, right? However, the consumption of the budgets could be very progressive in nature. You should be able to measure the outcome on runtime basis on different parameters, different KPIs that you have initially thought of. It necessarily doesn't mean that conversions, it could also mean the quality, right? And other KPIs. And the spends could be really progressive. Look into the data, decide that, okay, what all mediums you want to continue, you want to reinvest, you want to deviate your budget, or you want to discontinue. And that's how you will be able to actually either maximize the returns from the investments that you have done, or you'll be able to save some money. With this, I'll move to another question, which is by Shalini Singh. She says that since these schools are just about to start their activities for the next season, what marketing pitch should be given to students considering the pandemic is still going and it's going to continue for some time? I believe, to a top B school, it's not a relevant question to ask, but they would not really make a marketing pitch to students. They would reach out and communicate. But I think if I had to paraphrase the question, Professor Chanchal, to you, she wants to understand that we are at the onset of the fresh academic session, fresh admission session, and all of the top B schools are not going to roll out all their marketing campaigns and invite applications. The students might have a fear in their mind that whether or not they'll be able to actually get that physical experience in the institutions, right? So what should they really be doing? How should they really be communicating to students about whether or not they need to immediately make this career choice currently, or they need to defer it? So what's your view on this?
So in these present uncertain times, though all top B schools or even IIMs or other universities and colleges who could start their session this year, and though it was deferred because of the regulatory guidelines, now the challenge is going to be there for next year. As I earlier said that the last admission cycle already was, you can say, 60% done, and only the challenge was how to engage with the candidate, those who are already there in the funnel and those who have already made their mind that they want to do MBA. Now, for the next admission cycle, that is going to be in 2021, they are going to take well-informed decision. Like, they have the present in front of them. They can see what B school is doing. They can see what they are offering to the candidate, those who have already joined. If they are not offering on campus, how they are offering online, right? And they can also see those who are going to pass out this year, what is going to be their placement, how the economic conditions are going to be there, what are your track record in past and during pandemic, how you have coped up with these challenges. So the bigger challenge is going to be there, but until unless or till the time you are able to showcase that how you have tried to fight with this particular pandemic situation, how you have engaged with the current student, how you have done well in delivering teaching and learning, because in MBA, like, you have a lot of learning on campus. There is a lot of experiential learning through peers. When they are there on campus, it is 24/7 learning. Outside classroom also there is going to be learning. So if you are able to maintain everything what you are offering otherwise on offline, and if you are offering that experience online, and you are able to comply with the government regulations, or maybe you can say the unprecedented pandemic situation. So if you can showcase that, and if you can tell the outside world or your exec TG that this is what you have been doing and this is what you have been offering and this is what is stored in the future, I think you will be able to sail out. But the times are going to be challenging, but then you need to keep on innovating.
All right, so there are a couple of more questions which are unanswered. However, in paucity of time, unfortunately, we'll have to take a break today and we'll have to call it a day. But first of all, I'd like to thank Professor Chanchal Kushwaha for joining us and spending close to 1.5 hours in the session. It was lovely interacting with you. We learned a lot. I learned a lot, and I'm very sure that all the audiences who joined us today must have gained very deep insights, and they'll bring all of those insights into application for conducting the next admission session. Thank you so much, Chanchal sir, for participating in this, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Suraj, and thank you, audience. It was great learning experience from audience as well as a lot of insight which I have gained through Suraj also and Shivans also. Thank you.
So much, the entire audience for participating today. We had close to 200 participants. Somebody asked that in the beginning that how many audiences are there. So it was an anonymous attendee. We chose not to answer, but yeah, there were close to 200 people who attended. A lot of people who are the admissions director and marketing heads. But it was a fantastic session. I hope you enjoyed it. We will continue to do these Illuminate leadership talks in the following Thursday. We are going to invite more universities and institutions, the top ones in the countries, to exchange thoughts and ideas with all of us, all of you. Until then, take care and Jai Hind.
Thank you.